untrue. You know that I would be a liar if I was to say to you, girl, we couldn't get much higher.
Dr. Mundt, have you ever been accused of manipulating a scientific study?
Again, I don't know what you mean by manipulating a scientific study.
Okay.
I know what you're alluding to, but I wouldn't call it manipulating a scientific study.
Okay. You have been accused, and correct me if I'm wrong, of manipulating the chromium studies, right?
You'd have to be much more specific than that. I know exactly what you're talking about, but you're far, far from coming on to anything that's answerable.
Okay. Did you read the Washington Post article on you from February 24th, 2006, sir?
Probably looked at it at the time,
Okay.
or someone probably sent it to me.
Can I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
I may?
You may.
Thank you. Let me have you take a look at that and see if that's what you recall. The quotes from you are on the next page, but you're free to look at the whole article, of course.
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen this exact article, but I'm well familiar with the issue.
Can I approach and take it
You
back?
may.
Did you read the quotes from you on the second page?
I think it's paraphrased. I'm not sure I was actually quoted.
Can you take that down? And Tracy, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do this as much today.
No worries.
Okay. Okay. The article that we're referring to, and just to back up, this was printed in the Washington Post, correct, Doctor?
I assume so. I don't see any identification on it, but
Okay. Well, I don't.
looks like an email, but I don't know.
Yeah. Do you see? It's. I'll represent to you that this is a reprint that you can buy. Do you see where it says the Washington Post at the top,
Yeah,
sir?
yes, I do.
And do you see the date as February 24th, 2006?
Yes.
Is that around the time that this stuff was reported in the news media, Doctor?
Apparently.
Okay. And read with me here. Scientists working for the chromium industry, and yeah, you've seen your screen. Scientists working for the chromium industry withheld data about the metal's health risks while the industry campaigned to back strict new limits on the cancer-causing chemical, according to a scientific journal report published yesterday. I read that correctly?
Actually, no. You said industry campaign to back strict limits. It actually says to block
You're
strict
right.
limits. It has a very different meaning, sir.
Yes, it does, and I apologize. The last sort of carroted paragraph says, documents in the report published in the peer-reviewed online journal Environmental Health show that the industry conducted a pivotal study that found a 5-fold increase in lung cancer deaths from moderate exposures to chromium, but never published the results or gave them to OSHA. Company-sponsored scientists later reworked the data in a way that made the risk disappear. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
And you, in fact, that's the study that we were talking about before. At least what the author is talking about is the study that you conducted on behalf of the Chrome Coalition, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you're quoted, in fairness to you, on the second page, sir. Kenneth Mundt, a scientist with Arlington-based Environ, which conducted the study for the Chrome Coalition, said the decision to split the data was based on scientific issues, including differences in the way samples were obtained at the U.S. and German plants. He did not have an explanation for why he ultimately lumped workers together differently than they were in the initial unpublished version, a change that blended the intermediate exposure workers with low exposure workers and resulted in a finding of no risk. Mundt said he was under no pressure from industry sponsors to doctor the data. Did I read that correctly, sir?
Yes, you did.
All right. Now, can you tell us the name of the man that found out about this and reported these findings, sir?
Well, first of all, you're assuming that that's accurate. If you'd like to put it back up, I can point out half a dozen errors just in that last statement that you read.
Okay. Well,
one is I never did project for a Chrome Coalition or whatever the name of that thing was. It looks like fairly poor scholarship on the research of that article. By the way, these issues were actually published in a peer-reviewed scientific journal where the studies were actually published, in which we show pretty substantial risks associated with hexavalent chromium. I don't have the papers with me, but they've been published for as long as that's been out.
Mm-hmm. I was just getting to the person who found this stuff out and at least released it to the journal. Do you know the name of that man, sir?
Found it out? Yes, I spent hours on the phone with David Michaels, who was a policy researcher at George Washington University, and he seemed thoroughly uninterested in the facts surrounding the situation. Simply put, if I may, he's complaining about a scientific study that was described in a report to the sponsors of the study. As a research scientist sponsored by a company, by a government, whatever, I don't own those data. So when it came time to submit whatever report I produced to OSHA, I couldn't do it legally. Explain this to Michaels. He had already written some book chapter about the consulting industry and completely uninformed, but yet he didn't listen to our discussions. He couldn't understand why I wouldn't have provided it to OSHA. Well, I did better than that. I provided a copy of the report to the Office of Management and Budget. That's the government office out of the White House that OSHA reports to. I gave them a full copy of it long before discussions with Michaels. So, unfortunately, this little article hardly describes the situation. I would say at least go to the public record in the scientific journal where these issues were raised and were legitimately responded to by me and my team of scientists. That's all I can say.
Can you tell us what Mr. Michaels does now, Dr. Mundt?
What he does or what his position is?
What his position is?
He's been somehow appointed to head of OSHA.